The other night against Georgia State, you guys obviously had 21 assists and looked pretty good pushing the ball. Is that something you want to see more from your offense? Obviously, when the opportunities present itself, but the guys seem to push the ball a little bit more in that game.
Well, it's because we had more stops. When you hold your opponent to 32% from the field, then you have a lot more rebounds, which is the best chance to hurt someone in transition is off missed shots. So we want a lot because I want to get a lot of stops. So that means we're getting a great opportunity to run every time we get the ball. We'll push it sometimes after a make, but usually teams are pretty good getting back on made shots. So it's something we work on every day. But when you have that opportunity, of course, we want to look to push it. And I thought we did a better job, Paul, advancing the ball. I thought we did a better job passing it up the sideline versus dribbling it. And that's something we've worked on a lot here in the last 2 weeks to really run our lanes. So both our wings, when they take off, are supposed to run to the corners. In high school, a lot of kids are slowing up top of the key and they're looking for the ball because they're all looking for the ball. And we've done some things in practice to really get them to hopefully keep doing a better job running to the corners. And, so that's something that we focus on, and it works better. And our bigs are doing a good job running the floor.
Any update on Cam, whether or not he could possibly play Friday night?
You know what? We're going to see if he can practice today some. I just got a text from Seth and says, Cam Matthews feels great today. No pain. We'll have him participate as tolerated today. He'll be wrapped to give extra support. So that's the extent to what I know is what I just read to you.
Andy, go ahead.
Hey, Ben. How do you envision kind of Derek Fountain's role these next couple of weeks, especially with obviously Tolu out? He's probably going to have a little bit of expanded role, but after what he did against Georgia State, how do you kind of envision him playing and featuring in this team?
Well, he's going to start again tomorrow for starters, and then we go from there. And we're not sure, when Tolu's return will be. We're trying to be extra patient. It'll be 2 weeks since he's, been off and not really practiced on this coming Monday for Tolu. So I'm hoping that, with that amount of time. Now he's up there, getting some shots up and he's keeping his conditioning up, but he's not running up and down, pounding it, jumping on it like you do in a practice every day. But I'm hoping that it's going to heal enough to where he can get back to practice when we return from the Christmas break. And that remains to be seen.
John Sokoloff.
What's up, Ben? I just had a question with regards to Derek Fountain, like watching the film with him afterwards, what you kind of really saw from there. And I know you guys have an incredibly deep team, but how his performance against Georgia State could impact his minutes.
Well, like I just was saying, it's definitely going to impact his minutes. He played really well, and he did a lot of the things that don't show up on a stat sheet, and yet he had a double-double. They actually shorted him one rebound, which I got to get Matt to go back and look at. Because he had 10 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 turnovers. And the things he did that don't show up, like all the stunting defensively, being in the right spot defensively, talking, helping his teammates. And he also did a great job screening. Part of the reason, Paul, that our offense was better in the half court was because of Derek Fountain setting good screens. And, so he did a lot of positive things for us. And, I'm so happy for him because it's so hard to sit there and not play the minutes that you want to play as a player. And yet he keeps a great attitude at all times. And he did the same thing last year. So if there's anybody I'm pulling for, it's Derek Fountain.
Thank you.
You bet.
Stefan, go ahead.
Yeah, Ben, you alluded to it there, kind of just, Derek waiting his turn. He talked a little bit about, just he needed to remind himself to be patient and stuff early on. What were you kind of telling him maybe in the early weeks of the season when he wasn't getting as many minutes as he might have been last year?
You know what I told him? It says, you know how this is, okay? I know it's not fun for you, but it's going to happen where you're going to end up playing very important minutes here. It always does. And sure enough, it happened. And, so it's like, that's how, I was having that conversation with Javian Davis, when Tolu came back. And, it's going to happen. You just got to stay positive, keep working hard. Good things are going to happen. And when you do that, it does.
Just to follow up there, what do you see from Furman? And I know they're coming off that loss at North Carolina. What do you kind of see from maybe them in that game?
Well, I saw that they were 39-39, tied at the half at Carolina in front of a packed house and a really good team. And they're very, very hard to match up with. They run a lot of offense that is reminiscent of like what Richmond does, where they're very much looking for back cuts. They've taken 699 shots so far in the season from the field, 369 twos, and 333s. So they're almost 50-50 3-point attempts versus 2-point attempts. They're shooting 39% from three. So they're playing that analytic game that a lot of people do now, and very effectively. They can really shoot it, and then they have their big Slauson, who's a very difficult matchup. He had 33 points against College of Charleston a week ago. He had 12 assists against Winthrop. They run offense through him. He's very good around the basket, and he can pop out and shoot threes. Their starting guard, Hunter, had 4 threes in the first half against Carolina, and he's shooting 48% from the three-point line, making 4 per game from three. Bothwell had 30 at Louisville in their win against Louisville, who we have great respect for, having played them, and them handled us pretty easily. So we know how good they are. Their team, they're picked to win their league. We're playing them because we knew they were going to be really challenging and good. So it's going to be a very tough game for us. And they're very well coached. They have great schemes, offensively and defensively. They'll play a 1-3-1 zone some. They play man-to-man. They'll hedge. They'll switch. They push the ball really hard every time they get it to try to get easy early shots for their shooters, lining them up from three. It's going to be a very hard-fought contest.
We'll go back to Andy. Andy, go ahead.
Hey Ben, I'm curious about with Rocket Watts when he was kind of getting recruited to come down here as a transfer. How influential was Bernie Ziegler in kind of getting him here, and what was that relationship like? That maybe.
Well, we had recruited him out of high school. He actually had a visit here and ended up not working out. And what's hard for him is that we had no idea he was with a torn labrum when he arrived on campus. Nor did he. He played with a torn labrum, and much of last season, obviously just based on when the surgeon got in there and looked around, to the point where there was a very serious injury. They had to actually microfracture the bone. That's when they actually poke holes in the bone of the hip joint to promote healing because there was so much damage in there, along with actually repairing the labral tear itself. So it's been a tough deal for him because he's still not, 100% physically. You can just tell, but he can't move laterally as well as he needs to move, which is why I started playing Cam as the first guard off the bench in the last game because, he can move better laterally and defend better than Rocket can right now. I mean, offensively, Rocket's fine out there, and his numbers kind of spell that out in terms of shooting percentages. But defensively, it's just something he's got to, continue to work through.
And you mentioned you noticed that Derek Fountain was shorted a rebound. That it was 9, it had actually 10. How'd you notice that? Is that pretty common thing?
Well, because I watched the game and I saw that he had 5 at the half, and then I counted 5 in the second half. I said, this ain't right. I just counted 5 of them right there. So we got to get that straight.
We'll go back to Paul Jones. Paul, go ahead.
Andy, you kind of touched on my question about Cam Carter. Just as much energy and effort he brings in on defense, is that the main reason why? Is that what you look for him moving forward?
Yeah, at this point right now, tomorrow he'll be the first sub coming in again to spell, our rotation of guards. And, I've got to continue to do that because we need to rest. I got to do a better job just continuing to get rest for our guys. You get a diminishing return. Like I played Iverson too many minutes against Minnesota, and he played 38 almost. That's like ridiculous. And it was just that the other two guards weren't having the days that we wanted them to have, and I just needed him in there. And they played their guys that many minutes, but we don't normally do that. So I thought in this last game it was better for him to have more rest and than he had got the previous two games.
I noticed. I know you said Keyshawn Murphy was redshirting, but I noticed he went through warm-ups the other night against Georgia State. Just how is he progressing? He's coming off his injury.
You know what? He's doing a pretty good job. I mean, he practiced the entire practice because of Cam Matthews being out. He was the next guy up just in practice in preparation for Georgia State. So you had his first full practice where you're in the whole time, you never come out of his career on a Monday. And did a nice job, did some nice things, had a nice dunk. You know, he's, way behind, but he's got a very bright future because he can score, he's got good hands, and he's, a good kid who's a hard worker. I just got to get him to tie his hair up. I said, hey, you got to get that hair out of your eyes now every time you step on the court. I don't wear it how you want. I mean, it's your personal statement. But when you're on the floor, I got to see that your eyes have no impediment